John whips pressures at SUV into the group. He lurches on out of the vehicle, ridiculous and injured. He comes down on a cut injury in his stomach. As he crawls to the side, he takes out his telephone and watches a video of his better half, Helen, on the ocean front. John slouches over and closes his eyes. At 6 a.m., the sky was as yet dim. Similarly as John's unspeakable state of mind, right now today is the memorial service function of John's better half, Helen. John's close buddy, Marcus, approaches him to give his sympathies. In the wake of getting back from the burial service, John got a bundle subsequent to perusing the letter that accompanied the case. Helen, who arranged for herself, has been tormented by sickness for quite a while. She realized that she wouldn't keep going long, so she purchased a canine named Daisy, and trusted that Daisy could assist John with proceeding to sense the adoration on the planet. Take a gander at the letter composed by his significant other. John couldn't utter a sound. From that point forward, Daisy has supplanted Helen, remained close by each day. It go with John to rest together, gets John up in the first part of the day, and bit by bit, Daisy had turned into the main solace in John's heart. Daisy had supplanted Helen close by. At some point, when John took Daisy out to pass a service station, a little criminal ran over. One of them, Yosef Terahozef, child of crowd supervisor Vigo Terahozef, preferred the vehicle and proposed to purchase John's Kid Passage exemplary vehicle. John didn't mean to sell his vehicle, so he dismissed the criminal. Yet that evening, the hoodlum brought a couple of individuals into John's home. His packs burglarized John's vehicle, yet in addition killed Daisy. John covered Daisy's body. His better half passed on. Presently the canine left by his better half is additionally fiercely killed. John is devastated. Like dead senders, it is a greater amount of the displeasure radiating sincerely. John washes off the blood on the floor. His mind continues to review the locations of his significant other tumbling down and Daisy being killed. Joseph takes John's vehicle to a shop run by Aurelio. Aurelio promptly perceives the vehicle and requests to know where Joseph got it. Joseph clothes about who he took the vehicle from and that he killed this individual's canine. Aurelio slugs Joseph in the face. John comes to his companion Aurelio. He discovered that the one who took his vehicle was Joseph, the child of Vigo, the underworld chief. Even later that night, Vigo calls Aurelio to ask why he struck Joseph. Aurelio says because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. Vigo simply replies, oh, he called Joseph and gave him a few punches. Then he talked about John. It turns out that John is the #1 professional killer. Vigo and John used to work together. Later for Helen, John decided to wash his hands in a golden basin. Vigo was unwilling to let John go, so he traded with John and gave him an impossible task. The result was a task that no one can complete. The bodies that John laid down that day lay the foundation of the Vigo's family, what it is today, while Joseph stole his car and killed his dog a few days after the death of John's wife. After his son hates iron and cannot make steel, Vigo, the father, still has to clean up the mess for his son. Vigo takes out a notebook that is already a little dusty and opens it and finds John's phone to call through, hoping to solve the problem in a civilized way. But no, I thought that the hospital phone was hung up by John at the other end, without saying anything. Vigo understood that the battle between him and John was unavoidable. The first wave of killers who said that they were better than Vigo broke in early that morning. John's home. Unfortunately, this time John was clearly prepared. John and dozens of assassins went from upstairs to the bottom. It was only a moment that those assassins were dealt with by John. Just after the battle, the police knocked on the door and said yes. The neighbor complained about the noise. Through the open door, the policeman saw a dead person lying in the room at a glance. Still, he didn't dare to say anything and just casually asked if John did his job again. After leaving the police, John didn't idle and called a professional team to clean up the corpses. On the other side, Vigo soon received the news that all the 12 killers sent there were killed, but Vigo could only issue a reward. A reward of $2 million for John. After all, he was reluctant to let his children fall into the wolf. At the same time, Vigo talks to Marcus, also a top-level killer, in order to kill John. Marcus didn't refuse Vigo. "I know I could trust you." The screen turned John and left the house and checked into the Continental Hotel. There is an unwritten rule in the Continental Hotel that no one can kill in the hotel and therefore stay in. This hotel is also mostly killers. After a bit of settling, John came to the nightclub under Vigo's name alone. At this time, Vigo set many bodyguards to protect his son, Joseph, and guard at various places in the lounge. As soon as they spot John, he begins shooting at them, while Joseph runs away all the way from the underground of the nightclub to the upstairs. The lounge is crowded and full of innocent people. Joseph rushes into the crowd, plus the lights here are dim, and there are countless guarantees and obstructions. In the end, John loses Joseph as he flees in a getaway car. Your stitches will tear. That night, Marcus gets to the roof of the building across the street and prepares his rifle to aim into John's room. From the mirror, he sees someone entering. He fires a shot toward John. "Hey, John." The bounty 4 times the price and killed John here. Although John was injured, it was enough to deal with Perkins. She then had to tell John where Vigo's secret stash of money. John followed the information given by Perkins and came to the small Russian church. John forces the priest to guide him to where the money is. He lights it all on fire. Vigo learns of the fire and comes to the church thinking that John left. There are so many people around Vigo who are very skilled. John alone is not an opponent. Finally, Vigo's men find the right time to drive and knock to the ground. It seems that John is not old. The result of today's death is a foregone conclusion. After John was taught a lesson, Vigo left and let the 2 men suffocate. However, Marcus is watching from the next building, and he shoots one hitman in the head to let John take out the other. There must be a blessing when John counterattacked. John the path and stopped Vigo, who had just left. Vigo is forced to tell John that Joseph is hiding in a safe house in Brooklyn. John soon came to the safe house where Joseph was located. At this moment, he was like a concealed falcon. Before everyone could react, he cleanly killed Joseph's friend and all bodyguards. This time, Joseph again tries to run for it, but John catches him and finishes him off. On the other side, Vigo soon learned that his son was killed. At this time, his heart was burning. Since Vigo couldn't kill John, Vigo wants to kill the betrayer, Marcus. So he sent someone to capture Marcus and killed him. It was not enough for Vigo. Then he called John and told him. After killing Joseph, John intended to let Vigo live. Vigo has a way to have it, but no, he wants to go to hell. John immediately returned to the cracker's room, notices Cranes lying alone on the ground. A call from the owner of the Continental Hotel. The phone tells John Vigo that he is about to leave by helicopter. This message expresses John's apology for the assassination of John at the hotel. John drove to find Vigo. He saw Vigo when he was about to arrive in the helicopter. The car crashed one of the cars following Vigo down the road, and then controlled the steering wheel with one hand and a gun, and killed the rest of the men cleanly. The sky gradually started to rain. Vigo initially drove and wanted to hit John's car. Unexpectedly, when the car fell off the port, John jumped out from the rear window a second before it fell. Vigo, without a helper, can only choose to fight with John barehanded. After just a few rounds, Vigo fell in the wind. At this moment, Vigo came from behind. He took out a knife to find the right time and stabbed the knife into John's stomach. But John pushes the blade into himself before grabbing it and sticking it in Vigo's neck. John stood up and slowly left. John, who was seriously injured, came to a pet hospital. He found it disinfected and heard a dog screaming at him. Finally, John took the dog, brought homeroom. Can John reperceive love through this dog? This movie is a crime movie with clear boundaries and a crisp and neat style. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for